ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and get started with our fourth budget hearing today. I will do my best to use, as Ms. Nancy says, my teacher voice so that you guys can hear. I'm usually pretty good at projecting, so I will ask for all the other commissioners try to make sure that we have folks back in the back so they can hear, okay? We do have some amplification, but it's not as great, I guess, as it could be. So I'm going to go ahead and recognize Ms. Sarah to call the roll, and then we will get started.
Danny Alvis.
Here.
Nancy Barker. Here. John Gibson.
Here.
Joshua Gillum.
Here.
Tom Kern.
Here.
Robbie Palmer.
Here.
And Jason Roach.
Here.
We have 7 members present constituting a quorum. For the other commissioners, Jeff Barrett.
Here.
Chad Britton.
Here.
Larry Quantz.
Here.
Linda Davis. Judy Riley. Charlie Thacker.
Here.
And Sybil Von Trent.
Okay, so what I'd like to do with the meeting today, we're going to, I know we've got some folks here that would like to speak to us. A couple of things that I request. We're going to hold you to a 3-minute time limit. So we'll need you to try to stay within that 3 minutes as much as possible. Also, as we get started, understand we're a little bit under a time crunch ourselves. We're going to be presenting the budget, the tax levy, and the charitable contributions tonight. So any issues that we look to address during this meeting, we need time to be able to focus on those and get those done as efficiently as we can. So please share your thoughts on the front end of the meeting. And as we get the meeting going, we're going to try to just keep the budget committee working on the budget, and we'll go from there. So I did not have a sign-up sheet, so it's going to be first come, first served. If you want to just come on up, and all I ask that you do is state your name and the district that you are from in the county.
Hey, how's everybody doing today? My name's David Links, and I'm in District 4 at the moment anyway. And I just had a little statement I wanted to read out. And this county's over $60 million completely in debt, if not more. And that's just a rough estimate off my looking. For years, reckless spending and poor management towards our future. That's why we're in the position we're in today, and you guys are looking to make the tax rate hikes that you're making now. We plan for the here and now, and never even consider 3, 5, 7 years down the road. This needs to change. Be the people we know that you guys can be. Make the tough decisions. Not the easy decision of just hiking up the taxes and making the people pay for it. It's simple as that. Make the decisions in the budget where the cuts need to be made. And with that being said, there's only 3 areas that the people really want to see taken care of. That's not necessarily in this order. Our police and fire departments, our safety and well-being of our community, our schools for our kids, and then the infrastructure. That's the only 3 main categories that need to be focused on until we're out of debt. Because you can say you have a plan for debt and plan on being out of debt by 2038 until something else comes up. And then you got to raise more taxes. You're probably going to raise taxes because we know our revenues, our reserve revenues in the dumps, and the state's probably going to come in if you don't. Just be smart about it. Don't make the citizens pay for it. Make the cuts where we need to have them made. And make the hard decision instead of the easy one. It's that simple. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Luke.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good. Move that microphone up.
I'm Dane Chisholm.
Hey.
Okay. That's better, right? Okay. Dane Chisholm, District 6. First, I want to state on the record that I thank a ton of commissioners for being forthcoming and discussing with the citizens staff acknowledges that, as well as Josh Gillen, Robbie Palmer, Danny Elvis. Unfortunately, some of you guys I haven't had an opportunity to speak to, but I look forward to in the future working with you. My request is pretty simple. I ask that you guys consider reallocation of funds, moving things around, and I know that's a pretty broad statement, but I'll get specific for you. It is our strong belief in United Citizens of Hawkins County that we can drastically reduce or eliminate entirely this tax rate by following 3 simple steps. First step, pay for the Goshen Valley Bridge out of the general fund. This fund is designed to act as an emergency money for the county, and the bridge project will only use roughly 10% of the total savings we have developed. This is very reasonable and supported widely by many in the community and several commissioners. Using roughly 10% of the emergency funds for an emergency project within the county to avoid raising taxes for the citizens is simply common sense, in my opinion. This alone would result in a 29.4% reduction in the proposed tax rate. Step 2, call for a rational compromise on the funds being allocated to the Sheriff's Department for salary purposes by lowering the original asking amount of $1.8 million to $1.1 million at most. Many citizens and commissioners alike agree a reasonable and fair wage increase for the Sheriff's Department in order for them to have adequate funding in a competitive regional wage, which is important, would be accomplished with $1.1 million. This would allow them to give all 122 employees a $5 on the hour raise, resulting in nearly $10,000 yearly salary increase. Across any field, I think that's a pretty substantial raise and pretty reasonable. Though we fully support law enforcement officers and are grateful for the services that they provide, there is an obligation to consider the welfare of tax-paying residents of our county. I know you guys are aware of that. It is a fact and not subjective. If they receive this amount of funding, their wages will not only be regionally competitive, but they will be more so than some surrounding counties. This fulfills every aspect of the request from them to raise salaries in order to retain personnel and experience at the department, while simultaneously easing the tax burden on our citizens. If achieved, this will result in a 20% reduction in the proposed tax increase. 3, remove unnecessary miscellaneous expenditures throughout the entire budget. How am I on time? Do we have a timer on here?
15 seconds.
1. So large pay increases for county employees, especially ones in the $10,000 to $15,000 range. Eliminate unnecessary new positions being created, especially ones that are getting raises and assistance. And I will close with, please consider working as hard as you can to eliminate this tax rate. Because it is very feasible, and I believe in you guys. We believe in you, and the community supports you. We know you can do it. Decisions are tough and everything, but fiscal conservatism is about making those hard decisions. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Joe Ford. I want to let you know I do understand why you guys are pushing for raises across the board in Hawkins County. Okay. I understand why everybody wants a raise, would like to give a raise to their friends and their family and all that kind of thing. And it would be my wish that everybody in Hawkins County could get a raise. But that's just simply not possible. That's not how things work. Because in order for you to spend and increase the taxes the way you want to do, that money has to come from somewhere. And that money has to come from our pockets. And I tell you what, our pockets are empty. We've had 3 years of an economy that has put people in bad shape. People are struggling, people are hurting. And the people that you're asking more from are all making far less on average than the people that you're wanting to give raises to. It simply can't work. But this idea has been around as long as time. There are the elites that want to tax and control and suppress and oppress. And then there are the people that work and provide and create and build and make the economy work. And those are the people you're wanting to take from. There was a man that said a very simple statement. He said, the power to tax is the power to destroy. The man that said that knew a little something about words and the meaning of words. His name was Daniel Webster. And he gave us the dictionary. So I'd like for you to think about that as you come up. I don't know where this idea this giant tax increase came from. But in order to even entertain that such a thing, you have to have no consideration, no empathy, no regard for the rest of the citizens of Hawkins County. Because it's just oppressive and it's senseless. And we look at the spending that has come and gone, and we have very little to show for it. I hope you all get to look at this right here that shows, that highlights some of the spending that is proposed in this and how preposterous it is. People are familiar with Marie Antoinette and the French Revolution. And when people came to her and they said, the people in France are starving. This was the French Revolution. They had no food. They were dying in their homes and they were dying in the streets. And she said, well, let them eat cake. Because in her world, there was plenty. There was always plenty. Wherever she was, there was cake. It wasn't actually cake. It was a brioche, which is a bread. But that bread was made with eggs, and it was made with things that made it very rich. Okay? So, if you entertain this tax increase, what you're saying to the citizens of Hawkins County is, well, let them eat cake. Because you're in a world of plenty.
Hello everybody, my name is Mark Demetrash, District 6. I want to break this down into 4 categories, this budget. 4 categories of concern that I call it. Salaries. Shockingly, everyone wants a raise or to hire new personnel. For example, the mayor wants another $3,000 for his secretary, wants 4 times that amount for part-time personnel. The county building supervisor wants about $22,000 and has trouble getting an air conditioner fixed. I don't think he needs that. The finance and accounting budget, they want $16,000 in raise. The accounting and bookkeepers are an $81,000 addition. The assessor wants to add an employee. And I can tell the assessor, I don't know if you're here, but to save money, stop coming out to my house. I'll call you when my work's done. That'll save the taxpayers some money, some gas, money, some time. The county clerk wants to add $71,000 for deputies. Emergency management wants to add a new position, costing almost $52,000. Most of these people's salaries are double, triple, or more of what the whole household income is in this county. Category number 2, travel expenses. Everyone wants to travel more for whatever reason in this budget. I guess I would just ask that you explain it. Some of them are double these accounts, some of them are even more. Explain what we're traveling to and what we're doing. Number 3, office equipment, supplies, materials, data processing equipment. Some went double. For example, the beer board wants double, county buildings, assessor's office, they all want double. Some even more. Emergency management wants $19,500. Drug enforcement, additional $10,000. And category 4, the other category. There shouldn't be another category. I think it's simple enough to at least explain what you want to do with the money. The county buildings wants another $15,000 for other. The jail wants other $10,000. Public health, $13,000. Highway bridges, $8,000. There should not be anything labeled as other in the budget. It's too easy to hide things. The excuse I hear is it would add so many more line items to the budget if we explained it all. That's not valid. Let's be transparent. If you want to spend our money, tell us what you want to spend it on. Now, it's clear from previous votes on this board that some of you already made up your mind. I suggest you listen to the citizens of this county and represent them as you were elected to do. Excuses like costs have gone up are not valid. Our costs have also gone up, and we're doing a lot more with less. So I'll close out with no salary increases, no new positions or contracts, explain all these others that we have on the budget, and I don't think we need to travel, or at least tell us what you want to travel for. Maybe I can go with it. Thank you.
Get those figures at? I chair the beer board. So where did you get those figures at?
Well, I'd have to go back and get my...
Well, you might need to do that. Okay. When you start making calculations.
Okay, you want to do that right now?
Yeah, I'll recognize you.
All right.
Would somebody like to come up while he's looking for his materials?
My name's Jim Gillen, live on Price Road here in Hawkins County. I would like to thank the district.
What district is that?
6, I think. I've been here about 10 years. I'm a retired public servant. I retired from the fire department to what I thought would be my final resting place. And as these tax increases keep coming, property taxes, my insurance on my home's going up, my property, it all eats into my spendable income. And there's a lot of people that came here with X amount of dollars thinking they'd be great. And for the amount of services I receive, I don't feel like I'm getting the benefit of my dollar. Couple little pet peeves of mine is the airport. It's nothing more than a hobby place. If you can't land a Learjet and bring in corporate business people, it's pretty much a waste of money. I understand we got a grant for a lot of money. How long until we're allowed to do something after we receive that grant money and get that built? Something like that?
25 years.
25 years. I was hoping for 3, we'd lease it to somebody and at least get some money back out of it. Another pet peeve of mine is the road department. How many people know here how much we pay per mile to get our roads marked?
Danny, you want to answer that question?
Oh, I know. He gave you that answer. But I'm saying as a commission, do you know what we pay a mile?
I think it's around $800, depending on how many stripes.
That would be probably 20 years ago, because it's $2,000 a mile for a 4-lane operator, the center line and 2 sidewalks. That's a quote from his department this week. I think a county this big deserves a mile. We got 43 people in that department. Why can't we paint our own stripes instead of having almost $400,000 in the budget to mark our roads? That's a good question. But I think there's a lot of waste in this county that can be taken care of. And we all don't want it. We know where it is. Everybody knows they can save $1 somewhere. And I'd just like everybody to take a close look at what you're doing so you don't price out people that want to be here. I mean, I hate to think I have to move over to another county to save enough money to where I can live. And that's all I have to say.
You said your name is Mr. Demonstrator?
That's right.
What district are you in, sir?
District 6 or 7. 6. Sorry. 6. A lot of numbers going on today, as I'm sure you can. The beer board, I'm looking at account number 51220. You look at 499, other supplies and materials, $50 to $100, double. You look at, is it 599?
So the $525 number?
It's one, but then you're looking at other charges, it's 200 to 525, yes. Both those lines on top of each other.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Now, $50 to $100 doesn't sound like a lot, but in the budget, we're trying to cut taxes and stuff. That's a lot. Anything's a lot. I mean, I'd be happy with $50, can't it be me?
The beer board does not have meetings to have something to do. We do not have a meeting without there's a new application being submitted for beer license. And I'm looking at the total package, I think $3,000, not to exceed that. And what did you just say there?
The other supplies and materials went from 50 to 100, and then other charges, the line just below that is 200 to 525. The grand total of all that added up is that 3,000 you said, which is actually double from last year. Which I'm not saying that we don't need this beer board. I don't know a lot about it. What I'm saying is we're trying to raise taxes, and we need to really pinch every penny we can.
We spent $1,780 last year on meetings, beer board.
And this does generate income. People get beer license, that generates income.
Okay. Can I have some of that income?
Look,
If you can get it from the people that are, that's they get taxed for it.
And what
They pay their
Commissioner Parker,
taxes.
I think, is referring to is when you apply for a beer license, you put up $250.
Okay.
And if all 7 members shows up for that meeting, it only costs you $50 for that beer board meeting.
Okay.
So,
I'm not disagreeing with any of this. I mean, the numbers are there. I'm telling you, it went up. They're all the numbers are going up. We just want to look at the beer board. Their numbers are going up there too. We're in a time when we want to raise taxes. We need to pinch every penny. I think that's a fair assumption.
Well, I agree too, but if we're going to generate business in Hawkins County, one of the ways to do that is they want to sell beer. If they sell beer, it generates income in Hawkins County.
Okay.
Charge another $50 and pay the beer board.
I mean, I guess we could agree to disagree if we're going to argue about it all day long. I think there's a whole lot more other categories we got to look at here too. I'm not sure. Are you on the beer board too?
Yes.
Pretty attached there. Okay. So, I think, well, I never said it. It's double. I don't think it needs to double. We're at a time where we're trying to.
Might be recognized, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make a point of clarification. I don't want to argue for or against. I just want to make sure we're all looking at this the same way. Right now, the numbers he's comparing are from the 23-24 estimated column. That's not the budget. That's where we think we're going to land. That budget is actually unchanged from last year to this year. Just want to make that point of clarification.
Yes. Thank you. Dr. Lee.
Mr. Parker, you still here?
Well, last few weeks I've talked to a lot of people.
Mr. Parker, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, Jack Parker from District 6, Cordell. As I was saying, I've talked to a lot of people the last couple of weeks about proposed tax increases we're looking at today. And I find kind of roughly speaking, 9 out of 10 are opposed to it. And most of that 1 out of 10 usually seem to be Democrats that never saw a tax in their life. Or county employees that have stayed in there. And one of the arguments I've heard a number of times is for those that are in favor of increasing the taxes, is that, well, our taxes aren't that high. There's a lot of other counties that are in that ballpark. And I had never looked at the statistics, so I decided to look at the statistics on the counties throughout the state. And I found that at the current tax rate, we're in the ballpark of around average across the board, without considering differences across counties. And of course, there are big differences across the counties. We're very low income, a very low income area, not anywhere close to the differences in the nationals and other urban areas. So I found the data on median county taxes and median income levels in the different counties. And all 95 counties, a lot of counties in Tennessee. And look at that. And I found that at the current tax rate, this is just talking about real estate tax, but at the current rate, we sit, and now looking at the ratio, this is the number I'm searching, I'm looking at the ratio of the median tax paid, okay, divided by the median income. So on that scale, we're now in the upper 22%. And if you add in the proposed increase, it would put us in the upper 6%. Now, in my mind, at the upper 22%, we ought to be looking at trying to cut that to be closer to the middle, if not lower. And certainly, going up to 6% is just outrageous, I think. We've got, I'm sure most of the people here make more than the median income, which is only like $26,000 in this county. And probably not too far on you, it's not going to be too hard on me. But for an awful lot of people in the county, it's going to be real hard. And I think we really need to be taking that into consideration and trying to. Thank you.
My lady went to sleep. Good afternoon, my name is Kara Collette, and I'm in District 10, I believe. What, pardon?
You said 10?
Well, I'm on Cavaliers where I used to vote. Anybody want to help me out there? Thank you, I'm in District 4, there you go, guys. How many commissioners can we have a little bit of interaction, because 3 minutes with my back to more people than in front of me, it's a little uncomfortable. So how many commissioners do we have? 14. 14. Okay, so how many do we have here right now? 7.
There's 12 altogether.
7 on the committee. Wonderful, thank you. My next question is, when we had the increase in our registration fees, we had a deficit that year, correct? And it was supposed to be a temporary additional fee, correct? It was always been forever supposed to be, you're shaking your head, so it was always going to be there. Okay. That was widely misunderstood by the public as well as the workers. But how much was that deficit?
Back in 17, 18, when
Yes.
the wheel tax was implemented, up to $40 increase.
Right.
I wasn't here, but I think it was about a $2 million deficit at that point, if I'm not mistaken.
If I remember, I wasn't on the commission then either, but I think the fund balance was somewhere like a couple $100,000.
Yeah, the fund balance was going to go into the negative without it that year, but I think the deficit was around $2 million. But
And I
it
was thinking
predates
a
me
little
being
closer
here.
to $1 million.
I'm sorry,
But I
what?
was thinking it was a little closer to $1 million, but I don't know for sure either. Mr. Palmer, you're shaking your head, so if you have the correct numbers, please.
It's just none of the numbers you're throwing out are correct.
None of the numbers I'm
You
throwing
said
out.
close to $1 million, it was not $1 million.
And he's saying $2 million. Okay. So could we, let's take your $2 million amount. And I'm not attacking you guys. Please understand, we are not going to fix anything if we don't work together. And I even question that ability in and of itself. So it's, if we take the $2 million figure back in 2017, and we increase that registration fee approximately $40 a vehicle, I know that I personally saw a lot of people in that the county clerk's office who that was really trying for them. Pardon? 20 seconds. Oh, good golly. Okay. God said in Genesis, He created light from darkness. We have light, we have light, we have light, and we have darkness. Nowhere in the book, nowhere in the Word, which is the only truth we have, nowhere is the room for gray. Gray does not exist. We are asking you as citizens, please be strong. Please stand up for the light.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I think that concludes. Yes, sir, come on, come on.
Cody Page, District 2. I once again
again find myself compelled to stand as a beacon of light in these dark days, to let the voices of people be heard when they're too weak or fearful to speak up against great injustices happening to them. We've been constantly accepting deceptive, maybe even shady practices that seem to run rampant throughout this county and this government. Nepotism, corruption, or just plain greed have been words used to describe how a lot of folks seem to view their local government inside Watkins County. Even as the scars of the county will tax continue to ooze and fester like an untreated infection in the minds of the citizens, our death by 1,000 cuts continues. But make no mistake, it began long ago. The will tax was passed with no sunset date in mind to forever restore citizens into a greater poverty. It's been said, you give an inch, we'll take a mile. I feel like we're running a marathon right now, and there's still, with this increase in your taxes, you have no sunset date proposed for it. So we're just going to keep getting hammered. And I'm sure you guys are going to want more raises and more raises and more raises. So when's it going to end? That's my big question. I'll read aloud just a few numbers from this budget. It's over 74 pages long. It's going to show you a fraction of what the spending is going to. Page 14, line 101, county attorneys, a $7,000 plus increase. Page 15, line 105, county building supervisor, $21,000 increase. And it's a $74,000 increase from 2022. You said those numbers aren't accurate because they're projected numbers or something like that. Okay. Page 17, line 105, financing and accounting budget supervisor, a $16,000 increase. Page 17, line 119, accounts bookkeeping, $81,000 increase.
I did have two salaries.
Okay, why are we hiring people right now? And this is how much?
You said
All right, can I get through my time? Got me on the time.
You said, well, we're granting that. You said accounting and bookkeeper, $81,000 increase.
Yep.
On line 119.
Yep.
I've got 20,892.
Okay.
Your time to be changed.
Okay. All right, page 18, line 101. We have county trustee office administrator, a $9,000 increase.
No. 5,102.
Is it from 2022 or is it from the projected numbers that are going
This
on?
is the third draft of the budget, which had the most recent increase and decrease.
Is that the stuff you guys have printed out and sent out to the
This
citizens?
is the third draft that we have already.
Excuse me, just Mr. Palmer, go ahead, Mr. Buchanan.
I just want to clear up, this was the same comment for the earlier gentleman. What you're looking at in this three-column form, your far left column is your 22-23 actual.
Yep.
So yours completely falls out and done, those numbers are incorrect. Your 23-24 column is where we think we're estimated to land.
Projected,
And- Exactly. And then your 24-25 is your projected future year budget.
Okay.
But to say that this number is this much of an increase over the previous year, you have to compare budget to budget.
Okay.
So that's where we're running.
So if you're voting on a budget for 24 to 25, how are you supposed to vote on a budget when you don't have accurate numbers from the previous year?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I'm not being able to answer part of that.
First, go ahead.
What happens is we generate a projection on high expenditures. Just like we do at home. You're not spending $1,000 in fuel if you're coming under that in the year, so you have, I guess, a surplus. You want to call it surplus. What happens is a lot of our office holders, when they have that surplus, you guys don't see this, but they actually turn that money back over to the general fund. So even though it was budgeted to them, a great number of our constitutional office holders, which the constitutional officers are dictated by the state of Tennessee's constitution. There's a list that they follow. Because they manage their budgets the way they do, they turn a lot of that money back over to us. And so when we get the actuals back of how much they actually spent compared to how much was allocated to them, if it comes in under what the original allocation was, when we budget this year, you're going to have actuals. So to understand where the 22-23 budget was, if you go back to the county clerk's website, you go to about July, August, somewhere around there, about 2022, pull that budget, then you can see what was allocated, and then you can look at this one, you see what was actually expended. So there's an allocation of time, and what they spent was low. So you guys don't always see that, because we run off actuals in the past and projections in the future. So
Okay. Well, most of these are going to be off your projections, if your budget is true for your proposed budget, this will be the increase that will happen with your next proposed budget. Am I wrong in that statement, or?
When we allocate money, that doesn't mean that we're going to spend the total amount of money. Sometimes that means we're allocating high expenditures, but that doesn't mean we're going to spend the entire amount.
Okay, that's okay and everything, but if you're proposing a tax increase on folks, then these need to be actual numbers and we need accurate figures, because otherwise we're being caught on that. It seems very deceptive if you have proposed budgets and then people are basing numbers off of this, and then you're asking for more the next time, and it's another proposed budget, and these things are going back into a general fund that we have to, say, fix a bridge that we need fixed or whatever. Like, why are we raising taxes when we have the money? If these monies are going back into a general fund if they're not being used, right? All right. So I'll skip over all these lines since they're not, be valid, I guess. Just, I had 19 lines. It equates to about a $2 million increase to salaries at the time when regular folks are struggling to put food on their tables and make ends meet. How many people outside of local government are getting $10,000, $20,000, even $30,000 raises while working the same job as last year? With inflation on the rise and our economy sinking, do we truly think it's wise to split the jugular of everyday citizens? You wish to raise my property tax bill $400. And to that I say no. Enough is enough. It's time to get this excessive and egregious spending under control. I don't know any tax increase until you guys figure out what our budget's going to be per numbers in Hawkins County, especially when most government workers make 2, 3, and 5 times the average income of Hawkins County citizens, which is $27,000, a little over or something like that. I'll finish with a quote by Thomas Paine. A long habit of not thinking a thing wrong gives it a superficial appearance of being right.
My name is Jessica Dickey. I live in District 4. I just want to ask all the commissioners here, have you been out and talked to your constituents that are living payday to payday and are even getting food assistance from the schools? How many are going to the food banks? How many are being taxed out of their homes? They can't even take it. Have you looked at the homeless that you're increasing here? What's the next step for the homelessness? What's the next step for these people that are living in their generational homes that they've had all this time and they're being taxed out because they can't even afford the taxes that they have now? What's going to happen to them? They're going to become part of the homeless situation, and what's going to happen to that? And you're talking about more taxes when they can barely afford to get by now. They're not even getting by now. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
I'm Nikki Demetraza, District 6. Just based on what you guys are saying, Amanda Demetraza, Demitrazdek. The question I have, just based on how you guys are explaining the budget, if I'm looking at the supervisor director, so page 15, 51800. If you say that we're going by the actual numbers, so I'm looking at 22 and 23, it was 37,375, is that correct? So that's an actual figure, right?
Correct.
It is on page 15.
Jason, what's the line?
It would be the 51800.
105.
And it's 105, yeah.
Jason.
Mr. Chairman, yes, if you pause our time, I can probably explain that a little better. Okay. All the people who work in the mayor's office used to be in the mayor's budget, and then we divide those out more clarity, more transparency, as people like to say. And so some of the accounts went from 5 to 100, and the facilities went from 5 to 180. So what you're seeing there is one salary for one individual, which is now for 2 individuals. So that's why it's such a dramatic change.
Okay, because that's what I was just looking at. Things to
Why that was
clarify.
high.
Because I was like, wait a minute, that pops out. Okay, that's what I needed to know. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Mr. Chairman, can I just have 5 seconds? Yes, sir. I hope you guys scrutinize that budget as much as you were worried about the your budget. I hope you scrutinize the rest of that budget the same way.
You got on my mind, if you want to go over exactly what I was looking at, my concerns with it, like for your projected budgets, there's a huge.
I think I've got a new one for Mr. Goodwin. Will you let me recognize Ms. Smith first and then you?
Sure, I just have one quick question.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Where is all the money that's returned from all the departments? What line can we find that on?
You would find it spread all throughout the budget. We're at any fact, 39,000 non-designated fund balance at the end of the year.
See, that's a problem.
Why is it going back to the taxpayers? You want to raise our taxes?
So, proceed.
That's coming out of the budget.
Sorry.
Let me get back up on the top, because you got it.
Okay, testing. Okay, hi, I'm Christina Smith, District 3. Thank you, Danny and Charlie, for representing District 3 so well. I just want to say, these fine citizens have come out here. They've taken time and money to come here and speak to you from the heart, right? We're not here because we want to cause trouble. This is costing me money to be here, and my time is not cheap. So, none of us are being paid. You are. We want to see you represent the citizens of your county, your constituents. Prove to us that you mean right by us and get this tax raise down. Okay? Please work your hardest to accomplish this. Everyone is watching. Everyone is involved in this. There's only a certain number of us in this room here today, but everyone cares. They may be at work. They may be tuning in on a phone, on a work laptop right now. We hear from so many people in our group, United Citizens of Hawkins County, in case you are not tracking, and you are. Please serve your people of this county. Some things that we know that you can do to reduce this tax rate. Use unassigned funds. We have those for emergencies. Let's use those. The bridge is an emergency. Okay? Move some funds around. We know that you know how to do that. You are doing that all the time at every monthly budget committee meeting, moving funds around. Let's do that some more. Okay? And also, if we have to, reduce some of the numbers that are being asked for in this budget. Okay? So I'll close with that. Please prove to us that you mean right by us and get this tax increase eliminated or majorly reduced. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Dr. Clifford Payne, District 6. Lazy.
You live in District 6?
I lease land in District 6.
Where's your primary residence?
My primary residence is in Great Canyon. Yep, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, the committee has been suggested that my voice does not belong in the meeting because I'm not a legal resident of this county. However, as an active member of the county's Constitutional Sanctuary Committee and a landowner, a land leasee with long-term plans to build a home here, I'm deeply invested in this beautiful county. To question my right to speak is no beloved and fundamental principle that everyone with a vested interest in the community's welfare should have a voice in its governance. This county's decision will directly impact my property, my future home, and my contributions to this community. As Benjamin Franklin once said, an investment in knowledge aids in interest. My presence and participation here are part of my investment in understanding and improving this county, ensuring that it remains a place of integrity and respect for all stakeholders, current and future. True leadership listens to all invested voices, not just those of legal residents. By allowing me to speak, you affirm the inclusive and forward-thinking nature of this community, of this committee as is intended. There have been many questions about the analysis that I have performed and how we arrived at this pivotal point in this county's history. But today I want to focus on the questions that have not been asked, the essential questions for financial prudence and for instilling trust and confidence in the citizens. It is imperative that everything this elected body does is predicated on a singular focus: the health, the welfare, and the safety of all the citizens of this county. The Sheriff's Department is asking for a $1.8 million budget increase. Just for the record, I have an affinity for anyone who wears the uniform. I have done so myself faithfully. The Sheriff's Department is asking for a $1.8 million budget increase. And if I were to evaluate this budget through a request of a single line item for a for-profit entity, which I'm highly qualified to do, I would ask several specific questions. One of them being, what is your strategic recruiting plan, and what objectives will you address that take care of both turnover and skyrocketing unemployment costs incurred by this department year over year? These costs continue to rise, by the way, through the projections. What retention strategies and elements are being put into place to secure our talent? Throwing money at anyone has never been an improved retention policy. It is a fallacy. To otherwise believe that this will work is a clear demonstration of the lack of experience and perspective. Another critical question is, how will $1.8 million improve the lives of every citizen in this county? Quantify it for me. What measures are being taken to ensure that the performance within this department maintains the highest levels of professionalism? Another, is this the best this elected body can do? In general, carte blanche blanket statement. Is the highest levels of performance that we can expect in this budget review process and proposal? Is the financial management that has been displayed the absolute best that this citizens can expect? I'll fast forward here. The other question that needs to be answered is, when are the free and united citizens of Hawkins County going to inspect what they expect? And it is my hope that you all know that that time is now. As Thomas Jefferson wisely stated, the government that you elect is the government that you deserve. It is our duty to ensure that those we elect are faithful and serve well with the utmost integrity and dedication to the common good. This budget does not meet this requirement. Elections have consequences, and so do your performance. Thank you.
So, Dr. Payne asked some questions that I don't think any of us are willing to, or qualified to answer right now. Sheriff, Chief Deputy, would you guys like to respond to any of these questions?
Yes, sir, absolutely. I've been coming to planning commission since 2013, asking for more money for my officers. Most times I call them when we give you the insurance money. I haven't been fully staffed since 2019. And I guess you would know what 112 years of experience when I have to go over the curve. Likely behind it, you're talking about spending, and wasteful spending. Well, since I've been in office, there's been over $777,000 to pay people to walk out the door to go to work somewhere else. I count that as wasteful spending because the county has never invested in my employees. Another additional $418,000. $950 training and certified officer. I sent 83 to the academy, 39 stick with me. I spent another $594,330 in training people while these people were in the academy being trained. A lot of my employees have to work 2 or 3 jobs just to provide for their family. Hawkins County had invested in my office years ago. Wouldn't be where we're at today. I can't replace that experience. The state of Tennessee requires 40 hours per officer. Mine is 97 per officer, and some of them a lot more. I'm sure you know about tactical operation. I've lost 24 SWAT officers for another agency.
All due to pay, sir.
All okay, yes, sir, absolutely, absolutely. I've lost 317 people since I took office, 2010. What we do to protect the citizens of Hawkins County. The reason I ask this is I'm trying to retain people. Quit training them, send them out somewhere else, because if you call, I want to send a highly trained professional officer to your house, to your schools, and it looks like right now, my position that I got down right now. I've got 6 positions open in the jail. I have 2 officers on light duty because of injury. I've got 2 patrol officers. Owens. I have 2 officers off for injury from trouble. I've got 2 SROs fixing to go out the southern. Okay. Well, you gotta ask them.
Yes, sir, 100%.
Everything I do is protect the citizens of Hawkins County. We work hard. My biggest concern is, if I don't these races, retain these people, as I submitted, it's going to jeopardize the safety of the citizens, my officers, inmates, and our schools and our students. I got 4 obligations: keep the peace, and the courts, courthouses, serve process, and operate the jail. As it stands right now, I've had schools for the last 4 years that's been unprotected because they have officers. As it stands right now, if nothing changes, I'll have a this school year unprotected.
Question, Commissioner?
Sorry, Sheriff, Mr. Gill, my question.
Sure. So back in 2022, right before I took office, officers, and I'm kind of speaking to everybody, but I want you to hear it correctly if I'm wrong. Officers were making $12 an hour-ish, right? Wasn't that? Yeah. So if you can fathom that, 2 years ago, the commission, right before this commission was seated, our officers in this county were making $12 an hour. And there was a tax increase at that time to help fund raises not only for the sheriff's department, there was others than that too, but a large part of it was the sheriff's office. Now imagine, there were a lot of people who said they not do that. Could you run your department today if you were still paying $12 an hour?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So, as some people accuse us of not being forward thinking, some people say we're not thinking about the future. That was spending money, and it did cost some. However, had that commission, and it wasn't even me who supported it at that time, I wasn't out here to vote for it or against it, but had that not happened, had that investment not been made, our sheriff's department would be severely in the worst shape. If that wasn't forward, would you agree that was a forward-thinking decision, and in my opinion, was not wasteful decision? Thank you, Sheriff. I just want to make that comment.
$2.5 million out the door, it's not going to stop unless the rest
Mr. Gill, you said that they about $12 an hour. What are they making currently?
17.
17. So should we base it off of 17, not what it was extra?
I'm making the point that
I understand they got an increase that they deserve, they should have, like they should be able to live proper, but we're asking for more, right? Like we should base it off of what it currently is, it's 17 an hour.
Yes.
And also, are the SROs not paid for under the state grant?
And is that $17 across the board, or is that starting pay and it goes up?
It's a starting pay.
What's the average?
Can't answer that.
I'm going to look at SROs as those open positions won't be affected by that.
I go get a little shift them over to a different, and you would then have to hire new officers for the sake of it.
Right. Fine. I'm getting no application, by the way.
Mr. Chisholm?
I think about a 1 minute comment.
If it's okay, I'd like to wrap it up with the public comments after you, and so we can get into the workplace, okay, Mr. Holmes?
I just want to clarify to everybody, including you guys, that we
we are in no way anti-raising the sheriff's department wages. They absolutely need to raise. We are asking for them to get over $1 million. We'll give them a $5 on the hour increase. The same things I stated up there, but I wanted clarification. I'm asking for a compromise from the sheriff's department and this board that for the time being in our current fiscal situation, that they can get a $10,000 essentially yearly increase for the time being. Let us rework our budget. Let us do the hard work that I know that these guys can do. They implement things to fix our budget. And in the future, they can come back and ask for more money. But at the time being, right now, I don't know any job deal or anything in the world where $5 on the hour isn't great. My very last point would be, I'm not trying to step on the sheriff's toes at all here. It is up to him and his discretion how he would use that money. If he believes that, and I understand branch structure, I understand paying individuals who have been, we want people to commit to careers of Hawkins County, to care about the county instead. That's a completely valid point. He's 100% correct. If he wants to give the starting wage a $2 to $3 bump and make it still reasonably competitive and then scratch off those extra dollars that are left and give those guys who have been here for a while $5, $6, $7 on the hour, make that $12,000, I think that's a reasonable compromise just for the time being. That's all I have to say.
It's okay, sir.
Jeremy Ford, District 6. If you were running again, would you have run on these spending increases? Somebody said earlier, ask your friends. That's a great idea. Go on your personal Facebook pages, set the post to only your friends, and ask them if they think this is a good idea and if this is a good idea. Before you do this, can you look all citizens in the eye and say, we are being as frugal as we can possibly be. We're using the most efficient, cost-effective vehicles. We have no waste in our education spending. We're getting good value from our education spending. Our high school graduates can make change, understand basic physics. Property tax is one of the worst taxes. You're charging people to continue on what they are paid for, regardless of their ability to pay or their earnings. How many times over the last decades have we had these meetings? It's an emergency. We've got to come up with money for the budget. And it just happens again and again. And if we increase spending without digging into these budgets and finding the places we're not being efficient, it's going to happen again. We'll be back here a year or 2 years from now. It's an emergency. We've got to come up with more money. We can't keep doing it. That's it.
So, all right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the hearing process, and I guess we'll just kind of open up the floor and see where we'd like to start. Any ideas that anyone has to address the tax?
Mr. Chairman, can I speak?
Go ahead, Mr. Holman.
Eric, can you give us the current proposed taxes? How it's going?
0.3467. Of that 0.3467, 0.1767 is to the general fund, 0.07 is to the highway operating fund, 131, and then 0.10 is to capital projects. Of that, 0.08 to highway capital projects and 0.02 to general capital projects. That composes your 0.3467 proposed tax increase.
You said 0.167 was for what?
General fund, 101. You're welcome. Go ahead, Mr. Gill.
I'd like to make a motion that we reduce the tax rate, or I don't know how this to be phrased. I want to take the 8 cents to the highway capital projects fund out of the tax increase. reduce the base.
The motion has been made by Commissioner Gillum to remove the 8-cent levy for the highway capital projects. Second by Mr. Palmer. Any discussion?
My reason for leaving the 2 cents, I left the 2 cents on there. For you that are in the audience, we have a general capital projects fund that we set money aside in for large-scale projects that cost money. This is something that the previous commission put in place. It's underfunded. We're putting a couple $100,000, maybe $300,000 a year into that currently. It's largely underfunded. 2 more pennies in that will add about another $250 in there, a little less than that, $245. I think that's smart for us because it will keep us from having to continue to have these conversations. That's my reason for leaving the 2 cents.
And to Mr. Gillum's point, those capital projects allocations are how we can save money on the front end to correct infrastructure failures without having to issue bonds in the future. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, just like I would never say that I will never raise taxes if I run for office, that I will never say that. But I also will never say that we could never go into debt, because you never know what's going to happen in the future. But I would like to mitigate our risk for going into debt by trying to allocate money on the front end, which is, I appreciate Commissioner Gillum leaving the 2 cents. I really hope that we can look at a highway capital projects fund at some point in the future, because the Goshen Valley Bridge needs to be fixed. And if it takes unassigned fund balance to do that, I certainly support that. However, it is one of a few bridges that are on that list that need to be corrected. It's the largest span and probably the highest cost. But there's other bridges on that list that need to be addressed as well. So, if we're working on compromising, I'm okay with Commissioner Gillum's motion, but capital projects allocations help generate funds to keep you out of debt in the future. Anyone else? Any other committee?
I completely agree with you, Mr. Chairman. I believe that we're asking a whole lot from the public, and I understand that. And we can use some of these unassigned. The main thing I thought, I watched the meeting, although I wasn't here previously. And no offense, Mr. Gibson, when you first started talking, I thought you were crazy. I was like, why is he trying to cut funding for the bridge? And then I thought, once I sat and thought about it, I was like, well, what we know now is we have a $1.5 million cost. That's what we know today. We have the money to pay for those repairs to extend the life of the bridge. And then we're going to have to deal with facts that come before us in the future once we have firmer numbers. Then we'll see where we're going from there. But I do think it's a fair compromise to remove that for this year's budget.
Mr. Chairman, speaking on the part of the bridge, I talked to Gary Gee, and he assured me that they are actively working to try to get the governor to allocate or reimburse, trying to find some kind of funding for the state to assist us with it. So I do want to be cautious about, raising taxes to pay for a bridge when we could have some help coming from the state government. So, I'm all in favor of, the cost of the bridge, pulling out of our undesignated fund balance to help cover that cost.
I have a question. That's a question. That's the only bridge in the county that the county is responsible for.
No, sir, we have others.
Six more.
It is the largest, longest span, most likely county-owned bridge in the state of Tennessee. Why we own it, I don't know. But yes, it's probably the most expensive, the largest project that we have, but we have other bridges that we have to take care of.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
I contacted Mr. Calvin Franklin of Madam Craig. He is here. Could he speak for a minute and enlighten us a little bit on what he knows about?
Yes, ma'am. That would be fine.
Thank you. I am Calvin Wood, and I work for Madam Craig Consulting Engineers. We have offices in Kingsport and Johnson City, and I'm here as a resource for y'all today. We did take the report that the Department of Transportation provided. We worked through that. We looked at some, I'm going to say, more short-term repairs that would I'll be able to increase the live load capacity of the bridge. That would buy this commission some time to make some decisions and find some additional funds, or to find the necessary funds to replace the bridge outright, because that's going to have to happen. If you spend the $1.5 million over the next year or so to get this bridge repaired, it's a temporary fix. The bridge will have to be replaced. So I'm here to answer any questions. I understand what you're proposing. That does take care of the immediate need, but you still have probably a $20 million plus repair project somewhere down the road. And part of what will happen is you don't design a bridge replacement like this over 6-8 months. It's a long process. You have to involve the Army Corps of Engineers because you're crossing a body of water, all the environmental concerns, plus the surveying, the geotechnical analysis of the underground strata there. So you're probably looking at a 2+ year process just to design the replacement. So the 2 cents could go towards those design costs, but the 8 cents could be going into, say, an escrow to help pay for that bridge on down the road. So I see it both ways. I certainly do. I think you've got to begin with the end in mind, and the end result is Hawkins County is going to be spending probably with the 1.5 and the 20 plus, you're going to be spending $23 million probably over the next 5 years. So how you tackle that is, unfortunately, is up to this board and this committee. So I'm here to answer any questions. I'll offer whatever I can. But that is, I understand your approach completely, but
for me, it's not a matter about paying for the bridge. We don't know what other funds we may have come from other sources.
Right, absolutely.
So that's the reason.
And Mr. Palmer, I understand you talked with Representative Hicks. We work with TDOT basically in region 1 and 2. That's the eastern end of the state. And they're looking at 95 counties, and the governor's looking at 95 counties, and they're getting requests for funds from every county in the state. So I know the governor would love to be able to do that. The DOT would love to be able to do that, but there's just so much money to go around. So and the same thing at the federal level. We are working with Carter County right now on a series of bridges, and they applied for a federal grant, and they were successful. So there are some options that we can go after, and we're looking with the mayor's office and with Danny's office to try to pursue some of those. But
yes, can you explain the federal grant and the match that we have to have?
Yes, at best.
And they require it to be in place?
Yes, anytime you apply for a grant and you're awarded that grant, you have to have the cash in hand to match it. So let's say that you get a 80%, you got to come up with the 20% and have that cash in hand to move forward. And some of those grants are maybe 50%, so the county would have to come up with the other half. So, and keep in mind that with the federal monies and the state monies, you come with a lot of requirements for environmental and oversight because it is federal monies. That slows down the process dramatically. I know that you stated that it is a county bridge, but if the county chooses to fund the work yourselves, that eliminates a lot of the requirements for the environmental and the oversight and some of the things where the federal dollars would require. So yes, the match would have to be in.
So I guess my question is, and here, this is one of the main questions I thought about. when you say repair the bridge, the current bridge, is that, those repairs, is that, you said in 5 years we're going to have to build another bridge?
Yes, sir.
Is that with the current traffic and the overweight trucks crossing that bridge, where measures were taken to prevent overweight trucks from crossing the bridge? Would that not extend the life of the bridge? Because the main issue right now is our school buses and our fire department.
Right. Right now, the bridge has a 10-ton limit. We're striving to get it up to an 18 or 20-ton mile limit. I can't really say that overweight trucks are going to cause additional damage. One would think that, could shorten that repair lifespan, but I can't really address that.
So if your repair increases the ton weight limit, that's 18 tons. If the county decides to set its own tonnage for our local traffic,
right,
and restrict the tonnage of out-of-state traffic, because the main issue is these tractor trailers coming off the interstate, just following their GPS,
right,
and coming across the bridge. It doesn't sound like it's, local traffic causing attention. Would that not extend the longevity of that bridge?
It should, yes, but I don't know how you go about policing that and enforcing it. It's extremely difficult, and I know that the DOT had talked about working with some of the ways and some of the Garmin's or whatever the GPS. They talked about working with them to try to have them change that to say that this bridge is not a viable option for a truck. And I don't know how that works. That is something that we certainly have. But enforcement is the issue because it is a county road. You're not really, you're not going to have help from the highway patrol, for instance. So enforcement would be a difficult approach.
So in your history of work, you may not have mentioned this, just I think it's been something you've seen from experience. When there's a road like Rogersville Valley that attaches to two pretty important economic thoroughfares, typically the state owns those roads, or they will at least make them, what do you call it, state aid highways. Do you know why that road wouldn't qualify to be state aid?
Well, it's not a state route, number one. Honestly, I really can't answer that.
It is state aid. It is a state aid road. So does it automatically qualify for state grant money to fix the bridge or correct?
State aid is just for asphalt.
Now, you mentioned connecting various features where the 11W is a state and federal highway. If there was, say, an industry located over there, sometimes you'll see an industrial access grant to improve roadways, which we saw at Fitchburg. We're able to get Fitchburg paid through an industrial access grant, but I don't think that's an option here. We've looked at, quite frankly, we've looked at every option that's available without some special appropriation or allocation from either the state or the federal government.
In order to get state aid money for the villages, they have two lists. Goshen Valley is on the second list. You have to complete the first 5 bridges that's on the first list before they consider approving any money to Goshen Valley.
Is there any way to accelerate that list? If citizens not involved, does it help if there's attention brought to it?
Thanks, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
You were saying legal, they didn't act on the bridge, and it only still probably have to replace it. In 5 years or something. Is that what you were saying?
Yes. I can say that, those repairs can last longer.
This, what do you think of the time span of those repairs would be expanded life of the bridge? I mean, and we understand build a new bridge, it's going to be 5 or 6 years.
Right.
Today.
I think that these repairs would last until such time that you have a bridge ready to go to construction. Yes, 5+ years, I'm sure, because what the repairs that have been recommended are to strengthen the steel in the bridge beams, and then basically paint that so there's no further deterioration. Because what's happened through the years, the webs in those beams have basically rusted out. There's holes in there that as big as your fist. So you come in and reinforce all that, and then you literally paint it to keep any future deterioration from occurring. And then there's several other things that they've recommended, but I say 5 years. That's just because that's probably how long it will take to have a bridge design in place. And then you're probably looking at 1.5 to 2 years to construct the new bridge. Ideally, this bridge, the existing bridge, would remain active while we build a new bridge, say, downstream. And then determine what to do with the old bridge when it's completed.
Just a quick question, if I may. I'm understanding the timelines appropriately. So, 1.5 million investment to the current bridge. We're expecting that life to extend another 5, but the new bridge may take approximately 5. So there'll be a gap unless you start building a new bridge now.
And money in the hand.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I just want to make sure I understood the correct.
I'm usually
And you do everything as a timeline right in the project?
Right. And I'm usually 5 years is just, that's how long it could take. And these repairs they could last 8 years, 10 years. It's hard to determine that. But yes, there could be a gap, but these repairs should take care of that time frame until such time as new bridge is built. That's our goal.
One question, please. That is my district, and I have a big concern on the side that don't mean to put you on the spot or anything, but you said with this chair.
How would I
react to this situation?
Well,
and I don't mean that in the derogatory.
No, sir, I understand.
I'm respecting your profession.
Yes, sir. I would certainly recommend moving forward with these immediate repairs.
And how much time do we get into that?
Well, the design will be, we can get started on that almost immediately. We're looking at, several months to get that. Once we have that design and the specifications, plans, we would put that out for bid and get those repairs started. You're probably looking later this calendar year. Those repairs would probably, I'm not sure because you're looking at mobilization. And you got to keep traffic on the bridge. So you're going to have traffic control. You're probably going to have a temporary traffic signal. But I would be looking at probably 18 months.
Do you recommend a temporary traffic signal?
Yes, definitely. I think it's the only way you can keep that bridge active. You can completely shut it down, speed up the process, but I don't think that's an option. Having seen what happened with the Rogersville bridge and some others. So that would be my recommendation. And we have put a cost, an estimate in our proposal for that. So you just see how those things are broken down. But personally, I would recommend funding this immediately out of your fund balance. But I would recommend some level of tax be put towards this bridge. Whether or not you want to implement that for future bridges, but definitely for this bridge. Because this is going to have to happen.
John said that we have files on this priority 1. There's some values that are not on this priority 1. Can we start working on that without these being repaired?
As long as you're not using state money.
Yes. As long as you're using county funds. That's your best option.
We don't have county funds.
You do have county funds in your fund balance, in your general fund balance, correct?
We do, yes, sir. So you recommend go ahead and start a fund negotiation
two-way bridge replacement. So, as proposed, if we leave 2 cents, Josh, is that correct? Leave 2 cents into a capital project fund for bridge replacement. So, that 2 cents would be approximately $123,000 revenue, with $246,000 at the end of the year. So it would take, in 5 years, at the time you said your replacement would hold, or your repair would hold up, that's only $1.2 million. So we'd still be short if the replacement, we know it's going to increase. Right now, you're saying the replacement is $20 million, maybe. So in 10 years, what is that cost going to be?
Those funds could be used to pay, if you were to bond that replacement, those funds could be used to pay for the debt service on those bonds.
So the only issue we have is we don't know what condition 5 years from now will be.
Correct.
They can very well look at this account and say, oh, well, we're not replacing this bridge immediately, we're just going to go ahead and immediately balance our fund balance, so we'll get this $1.2 million back. So, yes, the intent would be to, and I like the committee to think about this, the intent would be to get or repair this bridge, or replace the bridge with this fund, but we all see how funds get wrong, so pay for something else.
Right.
So,
My recommendation would be that these funds would be set aside and encumbered in such a way that they can only be used for this bridge. I know, for an example, the Virginia Department of Transportation implemented a fuel tax increase for the I-81 corridor. So if you're driving from Virginia to Pennsylvania and you purchase gasoline anywhere along that corridor, those funds are rolled directly into the I-81 improvement fund. They can't be spent anywhere else. They have to go to that particular project or that area project. So that would be my recommendation to prevent that from happening. So that money would be borrowed and robbed, if you will. But put that in a specific fund. And your budget officer would have to address that. But I assume that could happen. You can encumber that money in such a way that it could only be spent on Ocean Road.
The proposed tax increase of 8 cents for highway capital projects guarantees that those funds will be used for future highway capital projects.
Just for Goshen Hut Bridge.
Even if you do make it specific on bridge to be drawn up by future commission, you can always take those pennies and future tax levy, but the money that is in that fund will always be used for highway capital projects.
Even if we say Goshen Hut Bridge.
You have to have another commission to appeal it. I mean, you can put something in that place. It's only as good as the commission, city hall record. But the money in that fund is locked into highway capital projects. So if you create that fund, that money can only be used for highway capital projects. That is, it's not used for general capital projects, not used for jail, not used for solid waste. If it's highway capital projects, that's what it has to be used for.
So if I'm 100% correctly with kind of that intent behind the Commissioner Jones' motion, there was instead of being a general capital projects fund, moving back to the specified as a highway capital projects fund to make sure it's only able to be used towards the highway or towards the bridge or highway projects.
If you want to make sure that it's only for highway, correct. If you leave it in general, you can't fund a highway project out of your general capital projects, but you cannot fund a general out of your highway.
Now, the highway department doesn't have, it's not called something different than that. Would that be, that apply to that as well?
I missed a piece of that, I'm sorry.
The highway department doesn't have maintenance and effort like other departments.
It's local revenues, and 131 is local.
Yes. Would that funding apply to that as well?
No, capital projects fund, you will fund this year, not next year, you're not locked into that.
And one question that I heard, we got to speak on as well. Can you, TDOT recently made a statement that it was that the bridge, if the bridge was at a safety level of concern, they would, intervene and shut it down. Just because I know that the public is concerned about the day-to-day driving on the bridge, and we know we've got an issue with the bridge, but as far as the hours of concern of the immediate, catastrophic, would you agree with that statement that TDOT would intervene if that was the case?
I come and go with what they said, but that's typically the case.
I think the situation occurred here in Rogersville a few years ago, where a bridge was completely flooded.
Armstrong Road.
Yes.
Armstrong Road.
So yes, they will intervene, and they will likely be back to re-inspect the bridge. They do that on 2-year intervals, but given the current situation, they may very well be back, and the county could request they come back sooner.
If we spent $1.5 million to fire that bridge, short term, we're going to have to build one day in 5 or 6 years. And we have to start almost immediately coming up with the money to build the new.
Yes,
5 years goes pretty quick.
it sure does. And to Almond's comment, that the cost of that bridge is going up. We're saying $20 million in today's funds.
Maybe 30.
It very well could be. Inflation and everything that I've heard this community talk about this afternoon is common evidence of inflation, I think. Would it be?
How many feet is the bridge long?
I can't answer that off the top of my head. I've got the
Roughly.
874. Yeah, it's 800 plus. The main plan is over that. Because it is a very long, clear span, and it's what we call, it only has 2 beams, basically, over that critical span. And if literally the beams goes, you don't have a bridge. So if there were 4 beams, you could possibly take one lane out of service and do a temporary, but it's, the way it was designed, it only has 2 beams there in that section.
Does anyone else have any more questions for Mr. President? Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I'll be here if you have any further questions. I'll hang out.
All right, we're back to the original motion to remove the 8-cent highway capital projects allocation. And I do want to say, just for discussion's sake, that would decrease on a $150,000 market appraisal. That would decrease your annual taxes by $30. So on $150,000 at $2.6714, that's $130. Well, that'd be a $130 increase with the $34.76. If we drop down and we take this 8 cents out, that would be a $100 increase. So at 29, or it puts the tax rate at $259.14 instead of $267.
Josh, this is your motion, if you want to amend that to be, make that the general capital project, or you want to make that the highway capital project, 2 cents?
Yeah, I'm open to that. That's, if you want to make a motion to amend it, is that correct?
Yeah, it's your motion, if you want to amend it, then I'll support it.
I mean, we just go ahead and amend it, probably.
Well, I'll make a motion to amend the 2 cents general capital project to be 2 cents toward the highway capital project.
The motion to amend is to redesignate the 2 pennies on the tax rate from general capital projects to start a highway capital projects fund. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Gibson. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. Ms. Sarah, you ready?
Yes.
Go ahead and call the roll.
Joshua Gillum,
Yes.
Robbie Palmer,
Yes.
Danny Elvis,
Yes.
John Gibson,
Yes.
Nancy Barker,
Yes.
Jason Roach,
Yes.
and Tom Kerr.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carries.
Okay, so the new motion, the original motion now is to remove the 8 cents, pardon me, would be to remove the 2 cents from the general capital projects fund, 6 cents from the highway capital projects fund allocation, and allocate 2 cents to highway capital projects. It decreases it from 10 cents to 2 cents. Does Is that understandable?
I think I did it right.
It goes from, yes, it goes from 8 to 2 for highway capital projects, and we're pulling out all of the general capital project allocation. So the total 10 cents for capital projects goes to 2, but that 2 goes to highway capital project. All right, any other discussion on the original motion? Seeing none, Ms. Sarah, will you call the roll, please?
Nancy Barker.
Yes.
Jason Rhodes.
Yes.
John Gibson.
Yes.
Danny Elvis.
Yes.
Tom Kearns.
Yes.
Joshua Gill.
Yes.
And Robin Palmer.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carries.
All right. So that takes care of part of that. What else would the budget committee like to address?
One, we're all for paying for these bridges and getting things fixed up in the county. Is there going to be a sunset date where these taxes will come out after things have been paid for? And
Not the 2 cents highway capital projects, because once we repair, we've got to remember that it's going to generate roughly $250,000 a year, give or take. And as we fix these bridges, as soon as we get the last bridge being fixed, what's going to inevitably happen is the rest of those bridges are going to start being repaired too. So I wouldn't think there would be a sunset on highway capital projects. All right. Any other places that you guys want to look at?
I think when the sheriff, could you kind of, I think we need to discuss your proposals that there is a big increase in tax rate. So what I'm going to try to make is what we presented the budget. You're asking for a 27.4% increase in payroll. I know last week regarding, if we could kind of do a compromise or a middle ground, or at least come down off of, such a high rate. When you're asking for 1.7 million, so 40%, I'm looking at $1,703,670 increase. I gave you a copy of a proposed schedule, and you said you could have some numbers for me today. How many would you, I had random numbers.
It wasn't very clear of the years of service for steps. If you're talking about the step only, we probably around 1 million.
It was $4.
No, 5. But if you're not getting prepared for service, the people that he's losing is going to be getting like $1,000, $1,500 raise.
Well, the understanding was they were playing on the same step. And I know you've got employees all over the steps. And to leave them on the same step to say, yes, you're keeping your years of service.
Whenever you want to fill 122 people on a rough average, the best they can come up with on doors without moving people on the steps, and that does not fix the corporal side of it. You're right at 1.1, 1.2.
So 1.1, leave them on the same step.
Now, it's not down to the penny though.
Well, right. So we're looking at under 1.2 for a $5 increase on the base, and leave everybody else on the current step.
If you leave it on this pay scale that we're already on, if we go by yours, where it goes up to the 3%, in the long term of it, we're back up to 1.8. So, I mean, there's a lot of factors in there that, how do you want to, step raises, year of service, $5 on it, are we going up 3%, or we going $5 on the current pay scale, or we going on the pay scale that we presented? I mean, there's a lot of factors that goes into play with this thing.
Well, I think the issue we were having was, the current pay scale we are on maxes out at step 8.
That's correct.
And, you and I, as a current pay scale is not, you know, at 8 years of service, our employees are capped out. But, and I've got a copy of it on this on committee on the city. What I did was just start at the bottom and go $4 increase on the hiring rate, so from 1712 they go up to 2112, $5 they go to 2212. And in between each step, up to 10 steps. So when I say steps, years of service, so 10 years of service would be a 3% increase in between. So that's basically over the last 10 years what the annual.
That was the hours. I didn't create the whole new scale where I go into what the yearly size of it is. Didn't have time. I was actually around a couple of the numbers. So, I mean, you can pin me down and tell me exactly what scale you want me to go on, and I can tell you the exact numbers. I've got.
Well, I think for the purpose of trying to make a compromise, I would like to know the exact number of the $4 hiring rate and the $5 with the scale that I talked about. Because we talked to them about with increase our hiring rate to recruit more.
I'm sorry.
No, just saying, and to fix our step rate, our problem with steps.
So what you're saying is, let me make sure correct, if everybody at 5, and everybody at the top of sheriff's office will be on step 1 because it would be a mixed decrease.
So they would pay on the current step. That way we would still get their years of service.
Okay? You're probably right back to 1.6 then.
So we're running, and that's on $4 or $5.
$5. I didn't do the 4.
Okay, so $5 would save $100,000 maybe. You're asking for 1.7 to.
Now I've got clarification of, yes, if people stay with the step that they're currently at, like most of the texts are at step 8, they would stay at step 8. So yes, that number would be up on the current scale. I didn't do the 3% from the 5 up, because I'm having to make new pay scales. And I've done it on the pay scale that we're currently on for 5, going across the board.
So just for reference, so for the committee and the commission and the public here, if we got a deputy on step 8 right now, that's the current one that's in our budget, they're making $21.26 an hour, and that's
correct.
And that's if they don't have the additional incentives for the associate degree or bachelor's degree.
That's correct.
They step 8 on the $5 for that same deputy would be $27.17. So yes, so it's a pretty significant increase.
It is. I can't disagree with that. But I've got to be very clear of where now I'm very clear that if they're step 6, they will go over to the step 6.
Yes.
So I've got to be clear of where the people are putting in there. And I can't run that number right here on the top of my head. There's 122 people.
That would be an over, if that deputy is on a step 6, that'd be over a $5 increase. So,
Yeah, because the number went up should.
So they should.
Well, I can do that one for you real quick.
Just for an example, for that one.
Actually, I've got your scale right here with me.
While I'm working on the middle of that scale, is I lost 96 people for 3 years or more. Some of them only 13, but
We understand that, Sheriff, it's just, and I'm gonna be transparent here, but what you all presented on the payroll list, I mean, some of these increases are unheard of outside of a corporate job.
that's because I've compromised since 2013 when we very small raises and we really had to advance with this keep losing people.
Well, if you set people in half, I mean, you're still looking at 5 lieutenants, so we're still be making $10,000 raise at the end of the year. I mean, a $20,000 raise.
That's just a guess that we should have been years ago.
That's $5.50.
Yeah. So what would that be on an annual salary?
So for, when I just did the math on an 8, okay, so if I do a detective person on $53,647 a year at step 8, with a $5 on the hour increase, that would put them at $64,043.20. So you're looking at a difference of 10,000 change.
Okay, that's all I was going to ask, what were we at? just for conversation to see what our numbers will be. So, either we can, if we have to try to adjust the whole pay scale, I think longevity of how we're going to make this right for 5 years from now. Or, you know, I'm going to ask you to reduce the actual percent increase. What I'm looking at, I'm sorry, Sheriff, and I would love, and I don't want anyone to think at all, or anybody at the Sheriff's Department to think that, you know, you don't deserve the money the sheriff is supposed to. But we have to be realistic in what we're doing our increase. I would absolutely love a $20,000 a year increase in my salary.
Well, that paid all along with the bid when you went high.
But we can't, but we have to be realistic.
Like you said, y'all keep the can down, y'all, commissions, keep this can down the road since 2013, somebody got to pick it up, put it this year.
I understand that, but I can't get held accountable for what past commissions have done. What I'm looking at now is trying to come to a compromise. Instead of giving you a 27% increase, if we actually cut that down to 20% increase, that's a decrease of $400,000 on the taxpayers.
To help you out here,
They're going to make $6.5 million somewhere else.
Sheriff, I understand that, but we're talking about today and now with this budget. A $400,000 decrease. I don't want to get into the business of telling you what your deputies are going to make on the hour. I'm asking you, if I can get this committee vote to give you, for example, a 20% increase or a 27.4% increase, then I'm leaving it up to you and your discretion to put it forward where you need it most.
to help you out, is 10 cents off. The sheriff presented on step 6 deputy $25.52. Okay? Yours is $25. I said 52. Yours is $25.62.
Okay. So now that that's been clarified, what I've been asking for the past 2 months. So it sounds like we need to fixing the scale now is not possible. So what I'm asking, can the sheriff department, instead of us giving you 27.4% increase, can you make a 20% increase? That's a 7.4% decrease, which would be approximately $400,000. That is a lot easier to stomach. And, you know, yes, somebody might not make a $19,881 increase, they may make only, you know, $10,000. You know, I just think we need to be some compromise. Like I said, we can't be held accountable for what has happened in the past. Yes, they should have been raises given over the past 10 years, but all at once like this, and you're looking at people making one, you know, our elected officials money. I mean, I've never heard of a job outside of a corporate job or an administrative level job to be making a $20,000 increase. I mean, I'm sorry, Sheriff.
You're right, because we're so far behind. We're not even, this pay scale's not even getting us up to being compared to other people around us. You're exactly right. We're so far behind. But just on the detective side, we're not far on the pay scales. We're not. It's like what you presented is a step 6 detective, step 6 detective, what the sheriff presented is $29.33 is what the sheriff presented. Yours is $30.19.
Okay, I'm done with the pay scale. I'm done with my pay scale, so we can't come to an agreement. So, you know, I'm looking at the differences in annual salaries.
A lot of stuff is time of service, the years of service. That's where it all plays the parts in. Is if it's going up to the next step, I can do that. If you want me to give you years of credit, I can do that. But I can't pin nobody down of what incentive is, my 3% and 5%. I can't do 17 pay scales. If you want me to run numbers, I'll be more than glad to. Let me know if we're getting credit for service, or if we're going to the next step, and it incentives them into play.
Can you bring these numbers before the commission meeting to make a final decision? That's what we're doing.
I'm going to say yes, but what we do that, I think I can, I just have to go back to my desk.
You got an hour and 15 minutes? I mean,
I can get you close, man.
that's what I'm saying, if we're gonna be that close to this.
Are we, or is it going from step or is it going from year to service? I need it. Go ahead. I got you. I'll bring it. Thank you.
But I'm thankful, I don't want to rush into doing something. And we only have an hour to try to run something else. I think it's more realistic now to ask you all to reduce the percentage change in what you're asking for. And you put it where you need it, and it may say, I mean, you may have to say, okay, instead of giving X number of dollars increase, you may only get half of what we were hoping. But I don't know anybody that would be complaining about half of the numbers that are presented. Just sharing things.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. So, if he needs to run those numbers, I hate to act on anything until he's got his numbers running. Is it okay if we hold off on this and then give him the information to see?
That's fine.
Can I clarify?
Yes, sir.
No incentives, as in 3%, 5%. I'm asking.
That's up,
Well, I mean, we've already discussed that, I think we decided.
We pull those out. That will go out.
On the new skip.
But this is a new scale. I'm having to make a new scale. I'm not going to make another scale. So, no incentives. For somebody who is a step 6, say a road officer who is a step 6 this year, they stay at a step, they would be going to a step 7 next year. If we ask for nothing, they would be going to a step 7. So do I use the step 7 on the new scale, or do I stay at the 6 going to the scale that I'm getting ready to make it?
We need to give them credit for this year. I don't think you might do this year service over.
yeah, I think you're right.
So if they're going up to a 7, on the new scale that I'm making, there will be a 7 on that scale. See, that gives me where I can.
Can you do the $4 and the $5?
No, you won't get one. So, it's, I won't have time, but I'll be late for the meeting.
Could you give us an idea where it might, if a dollar decrease would? Just, that's.
Yeah, I already said $4. Because you're not talking about, when you're talking about 122 employees, that 6, 7 is 4, is 3, is 2, is 1. I've got to figure that out.
But you also have to understand the people that you said, hey, like we got Clark been there for years, so they pay. If y'all don't get it total, you don't get credit.
They go to step 9.
I'm talking about on the current state.
I know, but if you try to number, then they go to step 9.
I mean, talking about them, I'm talking about what's going on right now, that's why I'm asking for this. You can live in like 13 years, and once you don't get a total rate, then you don't get anything.
So, Sheriff, you're not being disrespectful, but in response to that, whoever made the pay scale, whenever it was made, they should have talked about that. I'm sorry.
When they made that pay scale, it was perfect back in the 90s.
I was in grade school when that. I'm saying.
They need that 20,000 raises to go across.
So Sheriff, let me ask you this. Some people are sticker shock from some of the increases, right? The $15,000 raising and say, well, I'm never going to raise that big. And so why should they? So if people leave, if somebody's been with you and they leave you, leave your department, are they leaving you over a $2,000 raise? What kind of raises are they leaving you for? How much money are they making when they leave us?
Most people live anywhere from 30 to 55. 35,000 to 55,000.
Right. So what
Because
your
that's what law enforcement pays them, $2,000.
what your case is that our markets, our rates are not in the neighborhood of fair market value for experienced employees. So if we raise the rates, if we raise your pay raise by, if we give somebody a $5,000 raise, that's not going to keep them from somewhere to a $10,000 or $12,000, $15,000 raise. Is that what you're telling us?
We're going to continue to send people out though.
But these employees are leaving, they go, it sounds like the municipalities where we're losing most of our employees.
When the employee,
Our paid job.
when the employee leaves, say if they have 3 years of service and they have to go to different municipality, go somewhere else, transfer and then want to come back in, they start that at year 1 or they start at year 3?
For him, if they come back to pay,
Yes.
if they go over 1 year, they start out. He has the description go away from him, but normally, if you're over 1 year, you go back to him.
So, the point I'm making here, when you have an employee leave, let's just, since we'll use our county for example. If an employee leaves Hawkins County Sheriff's Department and goes to Rogersville City has far less employees than what you all have. So they are able to pay them a little bit more because of the sheer number of employees. So we have to make sure we're comparing actual, correct numbers, because from what our discussions have been, you're losing employees to third party like security firms or municipalities. You're not so much losing employees to other counties, is that correct?
I mean, we've lost them to counties.
How many?
Law enforcement's law enforcement, you go work, if you're a police officer.
6, but PHP, they start at 65.
Well, we'll never be able to compete with the state. They have money going everywhere and they don't care to show us. So, I understand that. What I'm saying is, I want to make sure we're comparing correct information, because you cannot compare a county sheriff department to a municipality just by sheer number of employees. When they are full, they're full. So, in my opinion, they can't continue, we're not going to keep losing them like that.
And just for reference, a maxed out lieutenant, if we did it this way, would go from $54,751 annually to $65,145.60. That's my number, so it's not exactly.
On the scale.
A maxed out lieutenant, if you add $5 per hour to a maxed out lieutenant on the 8th step, they currently would receive $54,751. With $5 added to the hour, it would be $65,145.60.
The numbers are working out about the same. They are.
The new scale would have them at, the new scale for them would have them at 76, 276. So it would have to, this one cuts that down a little bit. But
On the lower scale, the mid scale, it's almost at the lower scale. You got about 20-some positions, but they're probably going to be getting just a little bit more.
You all need to give Tony final instructions, because he's gonna have to go lights and
Thank you,
sirens. He's gonna have to go lights and sirens right now.
Someone else in front of you as soon as they finish, and then I'll recognize them.
Step to step.
Yes.
Well, without step, I good. You being that way?
Take off.
Dr. Knight?
Actually, President, if I may, it's a question for you, Sheriff. You said in the last 2 years you lost 96 employees approximately. Since you've been in office now, are those lieutenants or deputies? Okay, so lower end of the piece. Kind of in the middle. So I think what Mr. Palmer is asking, and Mr. Palmer, please correct me if I'm wrong, what Mr. Palmer, I think, is asking is for consideration, that you evaluate the proposed adjustment. What he's asking for is that that adjustment address the stopgap of retention specifically for deputies. Right? So the adjustment for lieutenants, which are absolutely well learned, but I think what the commission is saying is a bit of a, it's a significant step, right? Right. And so what we're asking for is consideration that that adjustment proposal be made in light of where you're actually losing your headcount, which is in that medium to lower end of the big scale. Right.
And Dr. Payne, I'd like to say one thing. If we're going to adjust the pay scale, we have to adjust the whole pay scale. We can't adjust half, the bottom half, and not adjust the top. And I feel like that, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. With the discretion still being with the sheriff to make those individual adjustments by person, merit, everything else, right? Or you're saying that the proposal is for an adjustment of the entire pay scale?
The pay scale, that's correct. It's a little, if you own a private business, I can say, Dr. Payne, if you're an outstanding, worker, and I can give you merit-based pay based on your performance. In Hawkins County, I don't know anywhere where we actually say same jobs, like similarity, duties, that if one does a better job than the other one, so we're going to give an extra, $2,000 a year. It doesn't necessarily work out.
I understand, Mr. Gross, so just so I'm clear, the rest of the constituents are clear. This adjustment to the pay scale is for the pay scale.
They for across the board, yes.
But by dollar amount, it's not going to address the stopgap that the sheriff is referring to, which is his retention issue. So even if it is a $1 million adjustment, we're actually not able to quantify that, yes, this $1 million adjustment is actually going to stop.
So it will quantify in terms of the fact that right now, the first year deputy started out at 1712, and the way that he's going to adjust that pay scale will tack $55 on top of that 1712. So that puts it at, 2112, right? 22, there we go. It actually puts it a little further ahead than what we were prison plans. It's just, it pulls it down from the top of the pay scale a little bit more. So instead of having $15,000 raise at the top from what I ran on detectives and lieutenants, it's going to be closer to a $10,000 raise. But it will be pay scale wide.
Understood completely, but the confidence factor, however, is, if we're all being honest, we're not sure this is going to address the retention issue.
I don't know that we can say 100% it's going to ever.
I don't think we can say 50%.
We might disagree on percentage of probability, but I think it's better than 50, but I certainly don't think it's.
Understood. Thank you.
Mr. Parker.
Yeah, well, I had a similar issue here, and I'll skip that part that you addressed. The other part is the training issues. It seems, from what I gather, a lot of money is going to put into training, and I'm concerned as well, paying for a lot of training, but then they're just, as soon as they get the training, they go somewhere else, and they get a job, and they've got the training. And now, I know this is not private sector, which is a shame. We don't take more private sector procedures. But in the private sector, if I'm going to pay somebody some training, send them back to get a master's or whatever training is, I think he needs. I'm going to put a stipulation on it. If I pay for your training, you got to stay here for a certain.
What's the contract, Sheriff? 3 years? 3 years. They have to stay less 3 years or buy out the remainder of the contract.
And are they still leaving it? After 3 years? Maybe it's a longer period. They pay that. Are they paying you back for it then? What's that?
And one option, this month, reimbursement for his training in here 3 years.
So after the 3 years and X dollars of training, then we quit before the 3 years, after.
We're here in 3 years.
Okay.
Paid that $3,500. I believe he paid that $3,500.
And that's what the training costs?
Pretty close.
Okay, so that has us pulling numbers for the Sheriff's Department. Where else would you like to look? Yes, sir.
Excuse my ignorance, but on the budgets, I know that I've heard before that the education department, our school system, even though they're part of our budget, they're not part of our budget.
So yes, ma'am, so our school board budget is line item adjusted. I think I discussed this when I came to meet you guys. They work through their line items during their school board, which is a publicly elected school board of their own entity. The only power that the commission has is to vote up or down, to vote yes or no. We cannot edit anything in the school system budget.
So and I apologize, I wasn't at that meeting, so I'm not quite sure what you're referring to, but is their budget in any way affecting this debt that we're looking at?
So the amount of money that we have control of as a county commission accounts for roughly, I think it's somewhere around 20-25% of the total budget. When you pull out maintenance of effort, and you pull out the school system, you pull out some of those other things, like for the Sheriff's Department, for example, if we allocate funds to address their pay scale, okay, for example, we can add to, but we can never take that away. State law mandates that we have a maintenance of effort that we have to meet year by year. For the school system, for example, we can never touch their allocations. The only time they can reduce their allocation is if they see a drop in enrollment. The school system is seeing actually an increase in enrollment. So as far as the school system allocation goes, there's not a whole lot we can do to that outside of the school. I think the school board ends up accounting for 52% of the total budget overall. The rest of it falls into what we have control of, and the money that's left out of that is even small.
Where do the resource officers come in?
The resource officers right now are funded by a state grant that the state of Tennessee has funded. We do not fund that for local funds. However, what the sheriff is proposing, we were funding half of it. It was a half fund match. But what the sheriff is proposing is he can't pull them and use state money to put them on patrol. He can pull them and then reassign them to a different division and then post those SRO positions so that we can hire from that.
And we won't know who's there for.
The SROs are paid for by state money. Still, the SROs are paid for by state money. Yes.
And we won't know that number until the.
We won't know his numbers until the full commission, so there's not really anything we can do on the sheriff's department. We can continue on, or y'all can move for adjournment, and we can get started in and out downstairs.
Before we go, could we discuss, so I know we added an assistant for Eric and an assistant for Jamie. And then we also adjusted the pay scale. Mayor, is there any, in your opinion, would adding those positions lessen the load enough on your office to not have the need to move to that scale?
In one word, no, but let me explain. We're currently running, Eric is the only one that knows what he's doing. If God forbid something happened to Eric, we're dead in the water. And you say that for everybody else that's in a position. If Teresa's gone, payroll doesn't get done. And that's gonna hurt. So what this new position for Eric is looking at is not only assistant for Eric, but learn everything else in the office. So it's not going to reduce the number of hours that have to be worked. So the same thing with Jamie. He's out on the road, on calls and fixing towers and all that kind of stuff. There is nobody that's going to step in and take his position in the office. There's paperwork to be done. There's emergency plans to be written. It all goes hand in hand, Josh. I don't think you can pick one over the other.
What was the total cost on the payroll, the new scale, and the assistant?
$72,000.
To be clear, when we say a new position for Eric, really, he had 2 part-times, right?
Yeah, you have to remember that both of them are pulling part-time money out. It's not increasing by the entire amount of the pay for that new person, because we're pulling line items from part-time and, in other places, in Jamie's case, just to get close to, what he's going to have to pay somebody. I don't know how to put this, but, you all tell me what to do. But, and I'm not trying to set myself above anybody else, but I'm chief administrator, chief financial officer, chief purchasing officer for the county. And if I have an opinion on it, it ought to weigh a little bit. You talk about the private sector, the CEO is going to have all the say, unless their board of directors comes down on them. But I feel like this is fair to our office. Our office has been, talk about kick the can down the road. It's been kick the can down the road for lots of years. When I leave at 6 o'clock, Eric's still there many days, Sarah's still there many days, and Teresa comes in on weekends just to get payroll done. So the hours are being worked, and they're not getting the proper pay for it. Yes, they'll get a little bit at the end of the year from their accrued comp time, but they're not getting what they deserve.
So adding these positions, will that cut out the comp time?
It would cut down on the comp time, yes. But you have to realize that people like Sarah that have to be at the jail on a Saturday to direct the air conditioner, or, you know, to be putting in phone lines on the weekend, she's still going to accrue some comp time. And I would imagine, you know, the start of this new position, there'll still be some comp time because they're going to have to train. Eric's going to have to train this person, and so is Jamie. So, you know, it'll be a little bit expensive for a while, but you have to realize that. I'm sorry?
It never goes away. How's it for a while?
So,
I said for a while because it's going to be front end loaded on what the comp time's going to be.
If you do away with these assistants, and you don't hire these assistants, will that help with the sheriff's department raises and the building of the bridge?
You're talking.
If you cut those things out, if you cut this out, will that help with this financing these other things?
You're talking about this much.
I don't care.
Versus
I
this
don't.
much.
I don't care if it's a thimbleful. It's still more money that we can put towards these other projects.
Okay, if Teresa, for instance, something happens to her, or she's a grandmother, she decides to quit, payroll does not get done. Do you think that's going to affect the sheriff's department?
You're talking about different things.
No.
Yeah, yes, you are. Just because, so you're telling me that there's no one else that can do her, you would have to hire someone else to do her position. She wouldn't have an assistant. You'd still have to hire someone though, right?
But that assistant could do her job while we're looking for
But while they're paying double.
I'm sorry, this is going to get a little bit out of hand. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting kind of back to the center. I've got a couple of folks that want to ask some questions, raise their hands. Ms. Jessica was the first.
Is there anyone within the commission that can be cross-trained? Because we do that all the time in the corporate world. We are cross-trained on all of these things. I mean, at my last corporate job, I did 6 other jobs that we were all cross-trained. If this person was out, we could step in and do that job.
Okay, first of all, the commission doesn't do the jobs.
Are the employees that are already hired, is what I'm trying to say. Is there any way of cross-training?
They have no time to do their jobs now. How are they going to have time to cross-train?
Well, they're going to have to train the new assistant. They don't have time to do that. You just said that.
Well, that would be, once they got the new assistant, you would be cross-training. That's what he said.
No, that's not what he said.
I'm sorry, this is the way we'll bring it back to order. Dr. Payne, you had your hand up just a second ago. Did you have something, sir?
Yeah, and I appreciate you allowing me to take the time. I just wanted to address or at least clarify, is there an opportunity to reevaluate the $250,000 being spent on office supplies? And not being cheeky whatsoever, I just, in comparison, I managed a $1.2 billion, across 6 sites internationally, and mine was about $125,000. So I'm referring to specifically page 67. I don't have the specific.
Can you give us, you know the account number?
I don't, that's page 67.
Our page number's been on
The mayor's office.
Where would the line be in the mayor's office? We're working towards that right now. So we can have a conversation. While you're doing that, Mr. Chisholm, go ahead, sir.
Mr.
Mayor.
Go ahead.
Okay. I say this with all due respect, but I think there's always this talk about the disconnect between some of our elected officials and the good money they're making and some of the explanations for being held like what you said about that individual being gone and payroll not being done. Well, if I'm on the line at Barrett in 110 degrees and my buddies are gone, there ain't nobody to do that. Guess what I'm doing? I'm stepping up and doing 3 people's jobs. And people across Hawkins County are doing it every day.
You're talking about an assembly line. You're not talking about a higher level position that can't be done.
This is where I talk, and if you'll give me a minute here, if I can have 1 minute.
I'm sorry, listen, folks, we're doing the best we can to let everyone speak. I really am, I'm trying. But we can't have everybody speak at one time. So please, Mr. Chisholm does have the floor. I'm going to allow him to go ahead and speak, but allow him to speak and not be interrupted. Thank you.
Like I said this with all due respect, gentlemen. I think everybody in the United States of America has a job to do, and they're qualified for it. It's complicated. If you're talking about hiring assistants and giving $15,000 raises, what I'm saying is you are in a position of service to the county. The county residents are the ones that are paying you. I think you're obligated to take into consideration every one of us has a job that we're doing. There's things in the day that you got to do your job. It's fair to have that expectation from you guys that, okay, so I'm not sure why we're not having, we're talking about, is there any motions to be made? I'm waiting to hear about the motions for these $15,000 raises and all these new positions. We cannot afford that right now. We do not need to raise the taxes on the citizens because the office wants to lighten the load. We all have to do that. Absolutely. That's all I have to say.
Dr. Payne, would you like to finish, sir?
Mr. Roach, I am reviewing the office supply expenditure. I just need a little more time. If I need to, I can strike my question and follow up in the next meeting if I may.
I'm okay with that. However, I don't share that need, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
Thank you, Mr. Roach, and pardon me, Mr. Gill.
Okay, so, Mr. Gillum, do you have an action you want to take? Okay, so the floor is open again.
But I think I can't pick one.
So if we have no other action to take for now, I can entertain a motion to adjourn, and we'll start downstairs at 6 o'clock. Thank you, Mr. Kern. Motion to adjourn has been made for a second. Seconded by Commissioner Gillum. All in favor, let me know by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
One last thing.
Debate, whatever.
You were